This is Noah from Ricky's Reviews, and today we have a very special feature. This feature is about Rareware. Rare is my all-time favorite developers, from Battletoads to Donkey Kong to Jet Force Gemini to GoldenEye to Banjo-Kazooie, and all of their awesome classics. But Rare once slipped on his banana peel. In 2002, Microsoft bought Rare from Nintendo for like millions of dollars. So Rare is making games for Microsoft, seeing that Microsoft would have thought Rare would make classics and make lots of money for them, since Rare was a really profitable developer for Nintendo. But that kind of backfired when they don't really sell that much, except when they started making Kinect. But this feature is not really about the retrospective and history of Rare. This is more of my personal opinion of Rare and how it is from their classic days to their more new direction and angle of, Kinect Sports and their casual market of gaming. I started playing Rare games when I was a kid, which was in the GameCube / Xbox PS2 era, which was kind of weird for me to play Rare games, because they were making games for Microsoft. But I actually I only had a GameCube, and I only played I didn't really play it that much. I just played my Super Nintendo, which, it's not a Super Nintendo. I had an emulator, which is kind of weird, but I had an emulator. I played Donkey Kong Country 3, which is my all-time favorite Donkey Kong Country / platformer game for the Super Nintendo. It's my favorite game, one of my favorite games of all time, since I played it at such a young age, and I really loved it. Even though it's like the black sheep of the Donkey Kong Country series, I still love it so much. And I also played Donkey Kong 64. I usually played Nintendo 64 instead of playing the next generation consoles, like the GameCube, because I didn't really like the GameCube that much. I loved it later in my life, but I don't really like it that much, because I didn't really have that much good games. I had a lot of third-party, second-party games, which were okay, but I still played my Nintendo 64 more. But when I was living in the GameCube era, I was wondering what happened to all the cool, Rare games, like GoldenEye. I didn't really play it, but I heard of it, and they said it was really good, but still I didn't play it. But I've heard of all the cool Rare games, and where are they? And I looked up the internet, and says that Rare making games for Xbox. I was like, what? I thought they were making cool Nintendo games for Nintendo. And then I realized they got bought out, which really sucked, because Microsoft restricted them from making their classic creative games, which now they're making crappy first-person shooter casual games, which I really hate. I wish they would just make platformers. They're really good at making collection quests. Some of them are good, I don't know, some of them, but I don't really like their new angle. Especially now it's just awful. Kinect Sports, really, guys? Can you just make a new Banjo 4 or get sold to Nintendo again? I really want them to go back to Nintendo. They had an awesome library of games, but now it's all different and messed up. But let's go back. Let's see the old Rare, the old good Rare, the one that doesn't make crappy casual games and crappy FPSs. But exclude that. Perfect Dark Zero is okay, but still. Let's go back to when Rare was awesome. Back in the late 90s, Rare was making classic platformer games for the Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64. They were making awesome games like Donkey Kong Country, Killer Instinct, the good, awesome games that they used to make. But things have changed. But before, it was just awesome. Game after game was classic, creative, innovative in some way. The graphics were beautiful. Rare was one of those developers that really paid attention to graphics and polish. Even now, they still make beautiful landscapes. Did you ever see Conquer Live and Reloaded? I know it's not a really good port of the N64 game, but still, the graphics are masterful. Even for like the Wii U, it'd be awesome. I don't know, but I'm getting off topic. Donkey Kong Country was a bone-chilling, awesome, epic adventure that gave you that sense of 3D, and it was just a possibility and a bouncy gameplay, which was masterful. It was one of my favorite platformers besides Donkey Kong Country 3, which is, I think it's better. But Donkey Kong Country was just masterful, and Donkey Kong Country 3. Especially even though I live in Canada, and Donkey Kong Country 3 was more of a Canadian environment. It was more fun to play. It was just such an awesome game. I really, really love that game so much. But Rare, they really need to make those really good games. There's this video on YouTube called Rare Petitions that you just type in Rareware or something, and then it goes sign to get the petitions to get Nintendo to buy Rare back. But I don't know if it's succeeding, but please, I would sign that petition to get Rare back. I don't know if it'll work, but just something cool to do. It's just something to do with Rare, since Rare really sucks now. But yeah, just go sign that if you get the time or you want to. Unless you like Rare making crap games. Rare is one of the worst downfalls in developers in the whole industry. They've been the pinnacle of excellence. Back then, they could have been they were debatable as being as good as Nintendo as developing games. They might have been. I thought they were better at making games until like Microsoft screwed them up. I think Rare is the biggest downfall ever. Like, from their great highness to their down low, horrifyingly bad games. But I wouldn't say they're bad. They're just not. They're disappointing. But that's a label that Rare fans have been seeing with most of these new Rare games. Just disappointing. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts was just disappointing. Rare kind of was like this with the Star Fox series. It didn't need diversifying in the first place. Star Fox was just an awesome flight simulator, but it didn't need diversifying because Star Fox is awesome as like a 3D space flyer, but that's what happened to Banjo, because Star Fox Adventures was an awesome adventure. The last great game from Rare was Star Fox Adventures, but they kind of had the same fate with Banjo. Banjo didn't need diversifying in the first place. Platforming was already terrific, but Rare thought that it wouldn't appeal to the new hardcore gamer but nothing they make appeals to the hardcore gamer. My friend bought Banjo-Kazooie and it's some bundle, and he doesn't play it at all because it's just a crappy kids game, he thinks. And he doesn't even know the history of Rare and stuff and how they were so good. So this is even worse than a platformer. Platformer is my favorite type of genre, and they screwed up and pooped on it. But Banjo was just awesome without it. They didn't need it. They really didn't need it. If Rare would have known better, they could have made awesome games and sold millions of copies of Banjo 4 and Banjo 3 and Conker's Bad Fur Day. And they could have made classics. They actually planned Conker's other Bad Fur Day, but Microsoft canceled it. That's the really worst thing about Rare is Microsoft. Not if they just bought them and just let them alone, then this probably wouldn't have just screwed up, because Rare is independent per se in the Nintendo era. But when Microsoft bought them, they had control of what they should do and what they shouldn't do. So they canceled all these good games, even though they should have. They could have brought in so many sales to Microsoft's console, but they just canceled them because they want to make stupid FPS and other crap genres like the sports genre. I always hated the sports genre. It's so, like, why do they have to release a game every year? Why don't they just release one like normal good games, like once every like 3 years or something, like the Mario or like all these good games. But no, Rare has to make all these games that suck. But I wouldn't say they suck. They're just innovative, but they still kind of suck because they're not Rare. There's not Rare's kind of games. Why don't they just give it to some other developer that's way better that making sports games other than Rare? Because Rare should be making platformers and other kind of games because Rare is supposed to be a good game. Rare, just go back to Nintendo and drop all this BS about freaking Microsoft. It sucks. Because Microsoft sucks. I never bought an Xbox 360. This is just footage from the internet I got from YouTube, which isn't that really good, but whatever. I'm not planning on buying Xbox. I'm not trying to be a Nintendo fanboy here. I'm just a really diehard Rare fan, which I'm really pissed at Microsoft. Like, come on, Microsoft, just give them back to Nintendo. They make him so much better games. It's just, come on, Rare, just stop. Or at least make a good game platformer. At least I'll buy any platformer you make. I'll buy that game. Like, no joke. I love Rare so much. They're old games though, not the new ones. But if this makes you feel better, Retro Studios, the developer that made, like Metroid Prime Trilogy and Donkey Kong Country Returns, some of Rare workers, original Rare workers, and are part of Retro Studios and make games for Retro Studios. So a little bit of Rare and Retro is in the heart of Retro, which makes it's like Nintendo thought, like Rare, then they got away. So why don't we get a new developer that is like Rare, but it isn't, which is Retro. It kind of seems the same because Retro and Rare, but I think Rare is still better, but Retro is still a really good developer, and I really salute them in making a Donkey Kong Country series popular again and platformers popular. And that inspired me to just make this video. And Retro, if you see this, you should make a new 3D platformer, like in the heart of Rare. This has been a bittersweet video about Rare. Rare is my favorite developer, but they slipped on the banana peel. So I hope they get up and make some good games. This has been Noah from Ricky's Reviews. And I hope that Rare goes back to Nintendo. I hope you comment and subscribe to get this channel popular and to get Rare to see this. And maybe they'll think twice about making Connect Season 3. Thank you guys for watching, and please comment.